So our prayers and condolences go out with the Nagel family. Katie Nagel passed away this morning. She's had health complications, and was most recently George's assistant, and then before that, worked here for over 2 decades. So we want to recognize her for what a kind soul, beautiful woman, and just recognize her and her family, and our condolences go out to them as she makes her transition. Captains. We got captains. Voted on those last week. Really good group of guys from Jalen Johnson to DJ, Caleb Williams, KB, the two backers and the two tight ends. So I know it's a larger group than we're used to, but we have a bigger group of leadership now that we've had these couple years here under our belt. And now we got this third year going, so it really feels strong about those guys. And they know the first rule of leadership is leading themselves and being the example we want to see in terms of work ethic, in terms of leadership, in terms of standing up when you have to speak, but mostly lead by your actions. You know, how we do things and the standards we hold each other to is so important, and our best players got to show that every single day, and they got to bring it. So those guys do that, and I'm excited about those guys being a big part of our leadership. Not all of the leadership, but a big part of that. Labor Day practice today was good. We had some good work. Today's just about really getting back into it. I always like to be able to throw the ball around a little bit, do some individual, focus on some fundamentals there. And of course, we had the bonus week, so we had some time to get a head start on Tennessee. We did that last week a little bit with a Wednesday, Thursday practice, so we feel good where we are. Guys will have tomorrow off, get the bodies right. Got to have a real physical practice on Wednesday in pads. And Thursday we'll have a good physical practice on situations there a little bit in shells, and then we'll work on doing Fast Friday into that weekend. So feel good about that. But with that, open up to questions.
Caleb is the captain. Have you ever been part of a team that had a rookie captain before, and why?
Yeah, I haven't had that before, but again, I put it to a vote. I had it with offense and defense, and I had the guys rank those guys, and he came out really high. So and all those guys did. That's what's great about it. And we had other guys that had great votes too, just not enough to get into that captain's vote. But that's a really good sign that he's got leadership throughout the entire team.
Matt, can you give some insight on your off-season planning for opponents, as far as how you divide that up? When do you guys get into the 12 teams or whatever, 13, 14 teams that you're going to face? And when you get the players, when did you get the players started on Titans?
Yeah, so that's always a great question, in terms of the balance of that. We do it without even knowing the players knowing it at times, because we have a bunch of walkthroughs, and we'll feature an opponent during that walkthrough. We'll set up our schemes against those guys, their fronts and their coverages, their particular favorite runs that they like to run, their play actions and screens and all the things that they do. So you always want to work on the first opponents. Typically, we're playing the AFC, early this year, and we don't typically play those every single year. So, and that being our first 3 games, we've certainly put some work on those guys. And then you work on an opponent that might have a unique type of scheme during the course of training camp. And I think it's always great looking ahead like that. And again, a lot of times the players don't know we're doing it. We just got to work our structures and our schemes against those guys. But and then if you're then you of course work in your division too. You're working in your division, same thing. And we get that during training camp. We work on that exclusively against our division too.
Does your staff dedicate specific days or weeks going back maybe to the spring? Say, okay, this week we're working on San Francisco. This week we're working on Green Bay.
Yeah, we do. We spend a few days on each opponent, making sure we're getting it down. The guys, it'll take the guys more time than that to be able to break those guys down in terms of their specific area. Like Simo obviously does our run game, and Dave Berganzi and Travis, look at our defensive run defense. So yeah, we go way back into the spring, and we set that up.
Coach, this is your 3rd year. Does it feel like a bit of a fresh start or a reset now that you guys have gotten the roster turned over? You got quarterback that this regime picked. Does it feel like a bit of a fresh start, almost a reset?
I would say that every year is different. And next year at this time is going to be different than this year. We'll have players that have more experience. We'll be, have more different guys come in free agency. So I think every team's different. I think you got to really reset that once you get into February, March, and then really get a feel for the guys, into April, and then we really start that April 15, and then start working that, bringing the team together at that point. And that's a process. We're very authentic about that. We're very intentional about that. And like I said, I can feel this team coming together faster, just because of the maturity of it. And some of it's because of what you said, Herb. We've been around each other for 3 years, and that certainly helps that part of it.
Matt, I know you haven't been with, it's obviously been a long and eventful road from February and March to now. What is your own personal outlook and optimism and energy now going into a regular season test here? It probably feels like a build-up to this.
Yeah, we're all excited. I could tell the guys are excited. We had a team meeting this morning. When I broke them down afterward, you can tell the guys are excited just about the competition. We're excited to compete together in a football game, and we're excited, full strength and be able to do that. And we're just excited about that opportunity we get this Sunday. Larry, what do you got? Got cut off.
You obviously haven't been in the AFC South since 2021, and I think all 4 teams have changed coaches since then, but does your experience there help at all preparing to play those teams this year, especially early in the season?
It does. I got some, I've obviously played some of those players that are on the other sideline, but that certainly helps. So I'm familiar with that. But again, they've changed, and that's why we did some extra work on those guys. there's all new coaches, and so it's adjusted and changed from that standpoint.
Matt, will you still do the honorary captains each week?
Yeah, I don't know. I may. I haven't really. I mean, I've thought about it already, but I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. So right now we got 8 captains, and I think they're a solid group.
For Caleb, what's the balance that you hope he strikes in being, wearing the C, being a leader, but also knowing that there's going to be growing pains probably for a rookie trying to figure out how to strike that balance himself? What do you hope to impart on him about that process?
Yeah, just be yourself. Just be yourself. Be authentic, and let it come to you, which he's done. He's worked his tail off. He's preparing. He's got great passion, in the practice and in the games, and that'll all come to him naturally.
And if you look at the big picture for your time here, if you go back to when you were interviewing for this job and you're talking with Ryan and he's laying out his blueprint of how you guys are going to go from what you inherited to where you hope that you are now, what did you think of that path, knowing that it was going to be really difficult at first, that you specifically might accumulate a lot of losses on your record?
Yeah, I mean, this is a team game, right? So you say all that, but I would say that we knew what it was going to be, how difficult it was going to be. We laid out the plan in terms of what it was going to take, and laying the foundation of our standards and how we operate as a football team, and how to bring those guys together. And that's an important part. And we've always been together, even though the wins weren't stacked up early on. We've always played together. We've always played the right way. So add talent year 3, then we should see a good product on the field now.
What about specifically coaching at defense? And you take so much pride in defense. That's been your expertise for all this time. Knowing going into it, you were going to have such a stripped down roster that continued to lose pieces even as you went.
Yeah, I mean, you have a roster that you coach, and you coach those guys to the best of your ability, and you keep coaching them. And that's what we do. And then look at the tape. What can you improve, and move to the next week? That's all I know how to do. And that's what I'm going to do this year too.
Yeah, with regard to the excitement that you feel like at the beginning, every team is excited at this time of year, no matter even if they're going to go 4 and 13, whatever. Is there anything about the excitement you sense on this team that is different than the normal season or your previous 2 seasons? Is there anything different about that?
I would say the competition that we've had up to this point during training camp, you can feel that. That's real, going against each other. And our players, offensive players going against defensive players, that competition is real. And the guys did a really good job of competing and really sharpening each other during that time. And like I said, we're excited about this competition coming up.
But how much of it is any of it a sense that this team could take a real big leap this year as opposed to the previous 2 years? This would be a playoff team. You could win 11, 12, whatever games. Is that any part of it, or is that just something that they don't even want? You don't even want to, think about it?
Yeah, I mean, there's excitement, but again, we're focused on this opponent. The opponent that's in front of us. That's all we can do, right? So let's get the Sunday and compete in that game, and then move on.